We're reporting on Sky Sports News that Matheus Cunha is this close to signing for Manchester United. What do you think?
I think it's a great signing. I think he's a brilliant player. I love watching him play. We're going to pick our team of the season tonight, but he was in my team of the halfway point.
Right, we've got some big breaking transfer news right now. We just told you that there had been some develops on the Matheus Cunha to Manchester United front from Wolves. Well, we're now hearing Matheus Cunha is set to join Manchester United after the season ends this weekend. United are expected to trigger the £62.5 million release clause in his contract. The club are aware by which the conditions for that clause will be met. But there's been no direct contact yet between United and Wolves. We're expecting those formalities are anticipated once the season has ended. Despite interest from other clubs, Cunha wants to play for United, and Sky Sports News has been told the deal is almost agreed. So big breaking news. Matheus Cunha is set to join Manchester United after the season ends this weekend.
Yeah. We'll get back to Jamie and this fantastic news that Manchester United are on the verge of signing Matheus Cunha from Wolverhampton Wanderers in just a quick second. But remember, if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. And don't forget to click the notification button so that you know when the next Big D video hits. And as ever, if something is on your mind, if something is bubbling up inside of you that you need to express, please express it in the comments. The Big D reads all of the comments and he's always interested in what is on your mind. But anyway, this is fantastic news. Matheus Cunha, he's on the verge of signing for United, and he is the first of 3 signings that I have predicted that they need in order to be able to compete next season, and that is a number 9, a number 10, which is what Cunha is, and a new goalkeeper. Everywhere else, I think we'll be all right, so long as people play to their potential. But this is the first of the 3. I mean, I'm not saying we're going to get all 3. We might get more, we might get less. Who knows? But this is positive news. But anyway, I'm going to talk about this after the clip. Stick around for after the clip because I'm going to be giving my assessment and we're going to have a little look at the pros and cons of Matheus Cunha signing for Manchester United. Here it is.
We're reporting on Sky Sports News that Matheus Cunha is this close to signing for Manchester United. What do you think?
I think it's a great signing. I think he's a brilliant player. I love watching him play. We're going to pick our team of the season tonight, but he was in my team of the halfway point of the season, so he had a great start to the season. I watched him at Man City a few weeks ago. He looked really sharp, quick, and we know how the manager at Manchester United wants to play. He likes sort of 2 number 10s in his team, and I think he'd fit perfectly.
What does that mean for the likes of, say, Alejandro Garnacho?
Well, it's certainly not good news because I think Ahmad might play one of those other positions alongside Cunha or maybe Bruno Fernandes at different times. And there is a lot of talk about Garnacho moving on because I think he's come through the academy system and we know what that means for the PSR of the club. And we also know Man United have got, a few problems with that issue right now. So I think if a decent offer comes in for Garnacho, I think probably Man United will take that.
Interesting. Of course, they're in the Europa League final this week. You said on the overlap, United will win that final. Why?
I just think they're used to winning big games. I don't think there's too much to, pick between the teams. We can see that from the league table. I just think of what Manchester United have done in the last few years. They've still won trophies at the end of seasons, and they're a club who are used to winning trophies. Tottenham aren't. And I think when you take that into a final, I think Man United will believe they're going to win. I'm not quite sure Tottenham will believe they can win, but it has been a season of cup upsets. We've seen that with Newcastle beating Liverpool. We've seen it with Crystal Palace beating Manchester City. So hopefully we see the same next week.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks for that. All right, so which of the 2 managers needs it more, this win in the Europa League final?
In terms of maybe being at the club next season, I would probably say Ange Postecoglou, but I think the man on our left here, I think needs it desperately as well because of where it's going to put the club next season. Financially, what can he do in terms of bringing players in? I mean, there's a lot of talk, even if, Ange wins the trophy, it may not mean he's the manager next season. But I think in terms of Amarin and where he's got this project of where Manchester United are going, they need the funds from the Champions League. I don't think it's about silverware. I think it's about silverware, really, as much as anything with Tottenham. I think for Man United, it's more about where this is sort of where it's going to take the Amorim project. Because if they obviously get the Champions League funds, it means it's a completely different sort of idea and maybe players coming in the summer.
Speaking of, so we've spoken about Cunha coming in. Are you surprised that given their current plight, they're still able to attract top-class players?
No. I think Manchester United are a fantastic football club, one of the biggest in the world, and there will always be that allure of, playing at Old Trafford and the theatre of dreams and the history that the club have got. That, Man United will all have that. I play for a club at times, Liverpool, who weren't always near the top of the table, and you're still attracting good players. Maybe not as good as you could get if you were at the top of the table, that's obvious, but it's Man United.
I mean, it's huge news for Manchester United and a huge boost ahead of that Europa League final on Wednesday against Tottenham. I think for the fan base to see them, close it seems to be signing one of the players of the season, it has to be said. Matheus Cunha, as you said there, Matt, 15 goals in the Premier League, assists as well, galore. And this is a player who, despite being in a struggling team, you have to say that before Vitor Pereira arrived at the club, he was single-handedly keeping Wolves up in a way and single-handedly winning them points. I mean, he scored and assisted against Manchester United themselves in December. I also look at a few other games, Southampton, for example, as well, without his moments of quality, finishing out of absolutely nothing in limited space. Like I said, winning points out of nothing. And you think for Manchester United, how Ruben Amorim wants to play, Matheus Cunha would absolutely fit in one of those 2-10 positions, because that's where Cunha's really excelled at Wolves. Bear in mind, this was a player around 2.5 years ago, signed under Julian Lopetegui. It was his first signing in January. Didn't show all that much, has to be said, in that first 6 months. He was clearly a flair player, but didn't show that finishing touch. But then when Gary O'Neill arrived at the club the next summer, he elevated his game. He became a star player in that Wolves team and really started getting that consistency to his game. I've interviewed him many a time during his time at Wolves, and he's talked about that progression, getting into the box, knowing and understanding where to really finish and add goals to his game. And that's what he has done under Wolves and under Gary O'Neill, and now Vitor Pereira. He's continued to do that. And for Manchester United, as I said, it's perhaps a far cry in terms of going back to a strategy of looking at some of the best players in the Premier League now. Probably haven't seen this since Harry Maguire when they signed him from Leicester for around £80 million. But going back to some of the best players in the Premier League, that is Matheus Cunha with this release clause for around £60 million. It feels like a huge coup. He's still at a good age as well. But for Wolves, let's not forget them though. I think it's a really good comeback in terms of they were able to get him to sign that new contract in January, make sure they get money for him in the summer, and you would hope that they'll be able to reinvest that money in the summer. They've lost some big players in the last few years, likes of Pedro Neto, Maximilian Kilman. We didn't see that investment in the last few summers. I think they've learned their lessons to make sure they're not in another relegation fight, and they'll be looking, as you mentioned there, we've not confirmed that the clubs themselves have had any talks yet, and I think it'll be interesting to see just how that deal is broken down in terms of installments. We'll bring you that when we have it, but it looks like this is a great deal for both clubs.
And it's interesting as well, isn't it, Dan? Because Manchester United have not qualified for the Champions League yet. They need to beat Tottenham Hotspur on Wednesday, and yet someone like Cunha is willing to move there. So does that show that Manchester United still very much has pull with the biggest name players?
Absolutely it does, because they are Manchester United, and despite this era of inconsistency, especially in the Premier League, they're still a team, let's not forget, who have been winning trophies in the last decade. You look at the FA Cups, the Europa League they won in 2017. They also got to the final of this competition in 2021 as well. Although they haven't been in the Champions League consistently, they are Manchester United, as I said, and they are still competing for trophies. And I think for Matheus Cunha, he has spoken, and he did talk in January about him wanting to challenge himself at the highest level. Now, that might not be Manchester United if they don't win on Wednesday and secure that Champions League place. But I think from what we've reported previously and what has been widely reported, I think Matheus Cunha seems to have an affinity for Manchester United. But what I will say, though, just to balance that a little bit, there will be a lot of excitement around the Brazilian, but I do think you also maybe look at a few of the red cards this season as well. You hope that he takes that out of his game that we saw against the likes of West Ham, where he was then suspended. I think it was Ipswich as well. So you hope if he does move to Manchester United, he's able to eradicate that from his game, because that's something I think Manchester United have been trying to work on in terms of culture, in terms of the group that they put together. They're not going to want a player to necessarily mess that up, and I'm not saying that is Matheus Cunha, but from what I've seen over the last few years, he has been a great influence on that Wolves team, but you also want him to add that to the Manchester United side as well. And as you said, it's Manchester United and they still have that pull for some of the most attractive players, not just in the Premier League, but Europe as well.
Really excited about this signing. This is a good signing. And from what I've read and what I've seen and what I've heard about Matheus Cunha, he seems like a Manchester United player. There's just some players that when you put them, you know, in the same sentence with Manchester United, it just fits. It was the same with De Ligt, it's the same with Martinez, it was the same with Cantona, Keane, and all these other great players that we've had in the past. I'm not necessarily saying that De Ligt and Martinez are as good as Cantona and Keane yet, but the point is they have big personalities and they suit the club. And Matheus Cunha suits the club. He's a big personality. He's feisty, and we have always loved big personalities. Keane, Cantona, Waza, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and now Matheus Cunha. And there's just something about big personalities at Manchester United that we just love them, even if it comes at the expense of a red card here and there. I don't think that'll be a problem. I think the Stretford End will be singing his name by August, end of August at latest. Anyway, let's have a little look. So we're going to look at the pros and cons according to my Terminator AI assistant, ChatGPT. And here we go. So why Matheus Cunha could be a strong fit for Manchester United? Well, it says here, number one, versatility and tactical fit. Cunha's ability to play across various attacking positions, centre forward, second striker and winger, make him a valuable asset. Under Ruben Amorim, the system that he employs, which often employs two number 10s behind a central striker, Cunha's adaptability and skill set will align well. Number two, he's a proven Premier League player. And he scored 17 goals and provided 6 assists in 34 Premier League appearances for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, I know he's a big fish in a small pond, but he's still doing it. He's still scoring those goals in the Premier League, and there's always that sort of extra 10% that teams put in when they play against Manchester United, just because it's Man United. Even though we've been crap this season, I still think that's really impressive. And I mean, we're getting him for, let's see, £62.5 million. Now, I mean, if he scored 10 goals and got 6 assists, I mean, that would be a good first season, really, so long as everyone else kicked in as well. I mean, we're not expecting him to get Messi numbers here, but if he can, at the very least, match that, 15 goals even and 6 assists, that will be a really good... That will really help Manchester United. That'll be a really good season for him and for the club. Yeah, and, you know, rolls on to number 3. You know, he's addressing United's attacking woes. Because we've struggled offensively, according to this season. And we have struggled. So it's not even according to this. According to my eyes. I mean, we've only scored 42 goals and we're finishing 16th in the league. That's crap. Now, Cunha's arrival, well, it's going to bolster the attack and provide the creativity and finishing that the team has been lacking. Now, it's not even so much that we've been unable to score, but we haven't even been able to create anything as well. So adding that extra little bit of creative dynamic to the forward line is, you know, it's going to be key. And it says here he's got a high work rate and obviously creativity. He's dynamic, he can beat defenders and he can create opportunities, traits that are essential for revitalising Manchester United's attacking woes. Excellent. However, so we've got some potential risks here. So it says 62.5 million is a big investment, and yeah, I don't think it is. I think that's the going rate for a player like that. I don't think they're paying over the odds for him for 62.5 million, because if we get, as I say, 17 goals and 6 assists out of him next season, that'll be money well spent. So I don't think that's bad at all, and especially if someone leaves like Garnacho, we'll get 60 million for Garnacho. That pays for him there, and he's already got a better output than Garnacho. So, but we'll get to Garnacho in a little minute. Pressure to perform. Given United's current struggles, there will be a significant pressure on Cunha to deliver immediate results, which could impact his performance. Yeah, I think that's a fair comment, to be honest, because wearing the United shirt is quite heavy, and also there's the Man United magnifying glass that the media put on them. Every tiny thing is magnified beyond belief. So if he doesn't, hit double figures in the goal scoring stakes, the pressure's going to be on him straight away, and the potential he'll become a meme. I mean, just look at some of the players at United who have become memes because they've had a bad spell, like Maguire, David De Gea, and Anthony. And I mean, look how good Anthony's doing over there in Spain now that he's away from the dreaded Man United microscope. He's absolutely revitalised that team, and he could be winning a Conference League title. But he was unable to do it in the Man United microscope. Now, at the very least, Cunha has performed in the Premier League consistently, so that would be a good stepping stone from, say, a smaller league to playing for Man United, which unfortunately Anthony wasn't able to sort of take. So maybe that will count in his favour. We'll see. It's hit and miss on that one. I don't know. I really can't handle that. If this guy's a fighter and he's a bit feisty, then I think he'll be all right, because you need personality to play for Manchester United. That's what Roy Keane's always going on about. Personality. Where's the personality? He's always saying that. And if this guy's got a bit of fight about him and he has personality, then he should be able to perform under the microscope. That is Manchester United. Potential impact on existing players. Cunha's arrival might affect the roles of current players like Alejandro Garnacho, who has been linked with a move away from Old Trafford. Yeah, I can see Garnacho leaving. Yeah, especially if we got 60 million for him, because he doesn't suit the system. He's more of a Rashford type of player, so he likes to beat players on the counter-attack, playing on the wing, cutting inside. If we're going to go all in on Ruben Amorim, then I don't see why. I don't see a place for him. He has put the effort in the past couple of months, to be fair, but I think he's overrated. So if he goes, I wouldn't be too downhearted. It'll be a shame that he hasn't kicked on as well as we would hope, but he could go to Betis or Atletico Madrid or wherever and become a world beater, and good luck to him. But I don't think he's done it at United consistently. He's a highlight reel player at this point. I hope he proves me wrong. If he stays, if he goes, I hope he proves me wrong. But I think it would affect him. Now, let me just get the old formation up. Now, this is what I think will be the starting 11 next season if Cunha is the only player that we sign. I think we will sign somebody else. We'll sign a number 9. And I'm hoping we'll sign a goalkeeper, but we'll see. Anyway, so Cunha's going to play there next to Bruno Fernandes behind the number 9. Now, what that'll mean is we have got 6 players that can play in this number 10 position. We'll have these two here. We'll have Garnacho. We'll have Xerxes, Mason Mount, and Amad Diallo. Now, we only need 4 players maximum for this position, so that would mean that 2 players are expendable. Now, of those 2 players that are expendable, I think Garnacho is the one that's probably going to leave for the reasons that I've already stated. And plus, there's the PSR, so we'll be able to keep 100% profit on him or something like that, whatever that means. So that will still allow that 5th player to hang around, because what I think will happen is I think Bruno Fernandes will drop into this position. As and when, because Casemiro doesn't have the legs to play 60 games a season anymore, and there's also the form aspect, so sometimes Ugarte will probably need a rest. Same with Casemiro, and it's the same with Mason Mount. I think he'll play in the central midfield position as well, because I don't think he'll leave at this point, because I don't think we'll get much money for him at this point. And plus, he's played quite well recently, to be fair, so it would be nice to see him get a full season injury-free. Hopefully, he's able to do that. So, if Bruno and Mount play in central midfield more often next season, that'll allow Cunha, Xerxes and Diallo to, battle it out for these two number 10 positions. So, we'll see. But yeah, consistency at top levels. While Cunha has shown promise, maintaining consistent performances at a club with high expectations like Manchester United remains to be seen. Yes, I think that could be an issue. However, everyone at Manchester United are going to have the pressure on them to perform next season after the abysmal performances this season. So he won't be on his own there. Hopefully he doesn't become a meme though. But we'll see. But in conclusion, Matheus Cunha's impending move to Manchester United appears to be a strategic effort to address the team's attacking deficiencies. His versatility and proven Premier League experience make him a promising addition. However, the high transfer fee and the pressure to perform at a struggling club present notable risks. Success will depend on how well he adapts to the new environment and contributes to the team's resurgence. I think we will be fine with him. We've got him at a reasonable price, and Ineos haven't been fleeced in the transfer market yet, so we've got him at the reasonable price. He's talented, he's proven in the Premier League, and he's a big personality and character. I can see him being a Stretford End darling in no time at all. But what do you guys think? Do you think he's a good signing? Do you think he'll perform next season? Thoughts in the comments, and the Big D will see you in the next one.